Okay. All right, welcome everybody. It's good to see. We are so excited about having you guys all here today. Is the mic on? Yeah, it's on. All right, so this is we've been doing this for 15 years, and this group, before even starting, is very enthusiastic. I hope you guys are following what we're providing on the Facebook page, because there's a lot of good sharing going on from us and from you guys. So it's going to be a great reference. So I guess the assumption is that you've watched the videos that we presented over the weekend. So the goal tonight is not to review all of those, just to hit some of the highlight slides, share something new, and then just have some interaction. So our goal is to try to keep this to be done at 6:30. We really don't want to go past that. In the library, you know, they close up at 7, so they want us to get out fairly quickly. So, but we're just really, really excited to have this group here. Okay, so let me get into, the only glitch I have is that my slide advancer, you know, the battery's dead because I left it on since November. Oh well, I'll fix that next week. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, I gave you that my medical background, but sometimes it's good to know more about the person. So I thought I'd give you a little bit more about my background, just so you kind of know a little bit more about me. And so this is whoops. This is my wife. This is like our second date, was my high school graduation. You like the long hair and all that. I grew up in Columbus, and she was from Zanesville, and we met, and she went to my high school graduation. This was 5 years, that was 1978, this is 1985. We dated off and on, and I told my mom the year before I graduated from college, I said, "Mom, I'm either going to have a wife or a dog when I graduate." I guess I just wanted companionship. I didn't have either one the year before, but that summer I made the better choice and found a good wife, and the dog came much later. So my wife has been the one, when we got married, I was just starting graduate school. And I was supposed to be in graduate school 5 years, get a PhD in nutrition, have a job. This 5 years turned into 8 years of graduate school. Then I decided, nah, PhD researcher really wasn't what I wanted to do, so I applied to medical school at Ohio State, got accepted, 4 years there, then 3 years in residency. So I was 40 years old. We've been married 15 years before I really had a job. And so she, you know, I always told her I had to study. So she was the one raising the kids, fixing the washer, taking care of the cars. I mean, I'm still kind of an invalid that way. She still does it all. So this was my medical school graduation, and believe it or not, that this was such a big deal. They made this big banner, and it was, you know, the graduation was in Ohio Stadium. Everybody, especially my mom, was so proud that I was finally done. And we got in, and it just poured down rain. And they canceled the graduation. And everybody was soaking wet. And an hour later, the skies were blue and beautiful, and everybody was gone. So this is very anticlimactic for me. But this was a couple days later. We took a picture of the graduation. And so these are the 5 children right here. So I give her all the credit for anything that they've become, because I tried to be as good as I could, but she did all the hard work. As far as my interests go, I like to fish. This is my mom and I, and I was pretty proud of that catch. That was in Michigan. I also like to play basketball. I'll play in the snow. This day I was playing in the snow. Not that I'm good at it. I got cut from my high school team. Long story, but I still love it, and I still play 2 or 3 times a week. This is where I excelled in high school. I'll tell you more about my dad as we go, but this was a district meet. I won the Columbus City pole vaulting championship in 1978. I'm a big Ohio State fan. This is 1970 with my cousins in Ohio Stadium. I like dogs. I don't have any dogs now. My wife said no more, but she's told me no a number of times, and then she changes her mind. And then I like animals. So here I am holding a guinea pig, and the babysitter's got a rabbit. So I'm an animal lover. I also like to draw and paint. Now, these are all drawings that I did. I've done a few paintings, but it's one of those things I want to get back to. And a friend challenged me. He said, you haven't done this for a long time. Why don't you just pick up a pencil and just have fun with it? So I said, okay. So I hadn't drawn anything for about 20 years, and I found this picture of my son. I said, I'm just going to sketch this out as quick as I can. So that was can't really see that. It's a 15-minute sketch. So I thought, this is fun. I want to get back to this. This is a picture of the two kids, the oldest kids when they were little. Drew that for my wife for Christmas. The one on the far left was a high school color pencil drawing. It was called, I called it Affection. And so anyhow, I spent 2 years after high school. I went to a year of college, and then I spent 2 years doing missionary work in Austria. And I had to learn German, which I'd taken German in high school, but it sounded so foreign when I heard the Austrians speak German that it took a while, but I loved it. I made some great friends. I met some great people, and it was absolutely beautiful. I mean, the sound of music kind of country. I lived in Vienna for 9 months and got to see some cool things there and meet a lot of neat people. This was 1979, 1981, and a lot of the older people had lived through World War II, and they could tell me stories about the Russian soldiers, what they did to the Austrians, and I passed through the town that Hitler was born in, so there's a lot of neat history in Austria for me. And you would say, well, why would you give up 2 years of your life? I had to pay for, well, my parents paid for this. Well, it's because I believe in this story. This is the resurrection. And I believe that he heals us. And because of my belief in Jesus Christ, that's why I did that. There's no other way I could have done that. It was not easy. It was not easy to be rejected. It was not easy to feel alone from home and homesick. I didn't go home for 2 years. I talked to my parents on Christmas Day and Mother's Day, and other than that, it was way before cell phones. It was just letters. But it's because of those beliefs, and that's part of who I am. I have a younger brother, and this is my brother and I. We were fishing in Wyoming. This is my brother and I, 1970 on Tappan Lake. Now, I grew up in Columbus, and if anybody knows Dr. Scott, he was a general surgeon at the hospital at Twin City. He was good friends with my dad. They were in the military together, and he invited us to stay at their cabin. We went 2 different times, 2 different summers, and so this is his dock and all these fish that we caught. A couple months ago, I was on Tappan Lake with a friend of mine, and he fishes all the time. I fish every now and then with him. We spent 4 hours on the lake. He caught 2 fish, and I don't think I caught anything. And we're driving back to the boat ramp, and I said, Bill, look over there, cross 150, 250. I said, see that dock over there? I'm going to show you a picture of that dock 40 years ago, or whatever it was, 50 years ago. I said, that's what I'm used to catching when I go fishing. And I didn't catch anything. He said, those days are long gone. They don't have that kind of fish here anymore. So he almost talked me out of fishing altogether. So my brother and I were pretty good buddies. And he turned out to be a Marine F-18 fighter pilot, and he landed a Top Gun, and he did all the cool things. He was kind of like it was the Tom Cruise era, and he kind of had that look. Now he flies the 737 for United. This is my family. This was taken this summer. So my wife on the far right, and the 3 girls and the 2 boys in the back. This is a picture of my parents this summer. My dad will be 96 in July, and my mom will be 83. I have some cool stories to tell you about health and other things about my parents as we go through. But I always see these old people, and you always think, they weren't always old. They were young once. They were vibrant. And so I had to show you a picture of what they looked like when they were younger. My dad was a high school biology teacher, a track coach, He coached high school track. He's being inducted into the Ohio State Track and Field Hall of Fame in 2 weeks. That's his big thing. He coached a couple of Big Ten pole vaulting champions at Ohio State, and then he coached a couple of American women's track and field teams that competed against the Soviets in the 1970s. So track and field is kind of in his blood. And then there's the whole family with all the kids, my parents and the grandkids and the son-in-laws and daughter-in-law. So that was this summer. And then we had a picture of the grandkids. It's impossible to get all the kids to smile. That was the best we could do. So we have 6 granddaughters and one that he's the grandson, and my middle daughter's going to have another son here in about 2 or 3 months. So, and we had my oldest daughter, her second child was born with anencephaly, and I'll tell you about that. But she lived 40 days and then passed away. So I think that's the introduction to kind of the family and me. I want to switch gears for just a second, talk to you about COVID, because I'm pretty passionate about this message about COVID. And I think you need to hear it because I'm not sure you're hearing what I think you should hear. I work as a hospitalist, so I've been taking care of COVID patients since the beginning of this. And it's terrible right now. If you don't know that it's terrible, I'll tell you, it's terrible. We have people we life flight out of our hospital almost every day. We have people die at our small little hospital. And we try to transfer them to other places, and there's nobody who will take them. There's a Northeast Ohio Regional Hotline number that we could call 6 months ago. We got a patient that needs transferred, needs a ventilator. Find us a hospital. We call that number now, and they don't even call us back. So we send most of our patients to Trinity Hospital in Steubenville. They're our neighbor hospital. And they will usually take all of our patients, but they often have 20 patients in their emergency room waiting for a bed, needing admitted, waiting for a bed to open up. Either somebody dies or somebody gets discharged. That's how bad it is, and it is not getting better. Okay, so let me just give you a couple of suggestions on what you should do, what you need to know about COVID. First of all, this Delta variant is the dangerous one. This Omicron variant is very contagious, and it's starting to spread, but we don't expect that it's going to kill people. I mean, if you're HIV positive and some autoimmune significant problems, you might be more susceptible. But for the most part, this one is a lot of people are going to test positive but not get really sick. But the Delta variant, I just signed a death certificate today before I came here of somebody that I put in hospice last week, and she died 3 days later. So a couple things. First of all is when you get this, when you start to have symptoms of the flu or the cold, don't put it off. Get tested right away. You got 7 days usually when you contract it, it's 2 or 3 days before you get symptoms. Once you get symptoms and you're thinking, oh, I got a sore throat, and then it's, I'm starting to cough a little bit, or I got a headache, or I fever or chills, and you keep thinking, I don't know if this is it, I don't know if it's anything, don't wait, because those first 7 days is when the virus replicates. And once you got a ton of virus in your body, which is usually day 7 to 10, then it's just what kind of damage is that virus going to do. So the first 7 days is when you can lower the viral load. You can stop the virus from replicating. And how do you do that? First of all, you get tested. Don't put it off. Secondly, do things to enhance your own immune system. Now, some people are like, shun this, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. It does no harm. Some people believe it does good. I'm not afraid to prescribe ivermectin. Hydroxychloroquine, there are potential risks with that with certain people, but ivermectin is not going to hurt anybody. And if it's done early, I believe it can be helpful. And then I've listed the vitamins that can be really helpful with this. Ivermectin with zinc is a great combination because ivermectin allows the zinc to get inside the nucleus of the virus and stop that enzyme from replicating. And then N-acetylcysteine and quercetin are other options. The monoclonal antibody infusion, if you can get that, you should get it. Now, let me tell you something crazy. We have been using the monoclonal antibody infusion for some time now, and we're one of the only hospitals that had it. So these are antibodies against the virus. And if you get it in the first week, you tend to do pretty good with it. If you wait too long, it's often not effective. So 2 weeks ago, we were told we're not to use that infusion anymore. They have a new monoclonal antibody for the Omicron variant. And I said, are you kidding me? We can't use something that we knew saved lives because now we have an infusion for a virus that's probably not going to kill people, but we have to use that. I said to the CEO, I said, I don't get this. He shrugged his shoulders. He said, I don't either. That's the way it is. It makes no sense. When you start seeing these things, it's made me question the messaging all along that we're getting. And I'm not talking about vaccines. I'm just talking in general about what's really happening with this. But that infusion, if you can get, I think is helpful. And then you obviously should quarantine. Now, once you get to the 8th day and you're getting sick and you're thinking, oh, I need to go to the hospital, then we switch because now it's inflammation that we're treating. So the best treatment for inflammation is a steroid. It's a strong anti-inflammatory. But then, once you're in the hospital with this and you're on oxygen, this is what people don't know, and they have to know this because people die because of ignorance. When you're there and you got oxygen and we tell you to suck in on that incentive spirometer and expand your lungs, if you don't do that, you're likely to not get out of it. And the reason we tell you to do that is the bottom of your lungs is not going to expand with just sitting like you are now. If you're exercising hard, you're breathing deep, it'll expand. But laying in a bed when you're sick, you don't expand that. You use 10% of your lung capacity is not being activated. And you need every single pocket of your lung exchanging oxygen because you're short of breath. So if you don't breathe deep, like we ask you to, and open up the bottom of your lungs, you're going to start breathing faster. And if you breathe fast too long, your muscles will tire out and you'll just say, I can't do this anymore. Put me on the machine. That's what my sister-in-law did 2 months ago. And 3 weeks later, she died, 62. So you have to do that. If you can lay on your stomach, that's another good way to shunt blood to the front of the lungs and enhance your ability to oxygenate. So those are the things that you do. But I can tell you, I can name 6 people that I know that said if I breathe into that tube, it makes me cough and it gives me a headache, or I just don't feel like doing it, and they died. So I'm telling you, if you get in the hospital, do that. Do not blow that off. One of my patients today is at Steubenville, and he was doing well, started to not do well. Why did he not do well? He was on a high-pressure oxygen flow, 1 step away from a ventilator. He didn't like that pressure on his face, and his oxygen level was 92%. He said, I'm going to take it off for just a few minutes. And his oxygen level dropped, and his breathing rate went up, and he was like teetering on death just because he didn't want to keep that on. We are not trying to punish you in the hospital. We're trying to save your life. So do what they tell you to do. And get up and walk and do as much as you can, because at this point, it's the inflammation. The people that don't do well are obese. Why would they not do well? Because their body is inflamed. When you have a lot of fat, especially in your belly, you have inflammation in your body. So you add the inflammation of an infection on top of your baseline inflammation, and you have that much more difficulty. Diabetics have more inflammation. Heart disease, emphysema, there's more inflammation. And the elderly, just because their breathing capacity, if you're not exercising, you're not used to working those muscles, like any muscle that you haven't used, it'll tire out. And then you'll be begging for some kind of help. So I can't emphasize this enough, because this is not talked about, and everybody needs to know this. Get tested early, do the things that you're supposed to do in the hospital, and you'll have a fighting chance. Okay, so let me go to just some of the things we talked about in the presentation. So I believe our healthcare model is flawed, because all we do is we manage disease. You got high blood pressure? Let me manage that with a pill. Your cholesterol is high, I'll put you on a pill to lower that so everybody feels better. We'll talk a lot about cholesterol in the future and cholesterol medicines. But instead of managing the problem, why don't we get to the root cause of the problem and address that? That's what we're going to talk about here. So our goal is to empower you so that you know what you need to do to get healthy. And also start to believe that when you make these little changes, your life will change. And we're going to hear from Kelly and Deb and Seth here in a minute. They'll tell you what these little changes have done for them. And it's not just not having disease, it's healthy thoughts, behaviors, healthy relationships, and emotions. So this isn't a quick fix kind of program. This is really changing everything within our core to be healed. Okay, so this week was on the wellness crisis. We talked about what kills us. We went over these statistics, and you should all know that heart disease is the #1 killer in America, followed by cancer. Oops, why is this not showing up here? Here we go. You can see last year, COVID was the 3rd leading cause of death. Now, I think you've all know this, that we are counting deaths that are related to COVID as a COVID death, and that's wrong. I don't know why we have to do that. The death certificate I signed today was a COVID death. But people can be test positive for COVID and not sick and die of a heart attack, and it's counted as a COVID death. Those kind of things should make you all think, like, who's in control here and what's the message being broadcast? The mortality rate, this is from the CDC. I checked it today. I put it right up there, 0.09%. So it's like 1 out of 1,000 people. Okay, then I also mentioned earlier in the presentation that medical care is a major cause of death because we over-medicate, and we've done a lot of things to try to reduce those death rates, but medication over prescription is still a major cause of death. And this happens in the emergency room. Somebody comes in with a heart attack or heart rhythm problem, or they stop breathing, and we go through the normal resuscitative things, and we say, well, that was a heart attack. Well, not if they're on 3 medications and it interacts with a heart rhythm issue, but very rarely is an emergency room doctor going to blame the family doctor for killing this person. First of all, they can't prove it. Secondly, they don't have the information. But often when I get to review these, there's a lot of red flags that come up, like here's a couple of potential explanations for why this person died. But it doesn't get reported like this. So the point here is that we have to be careful with medication overuse. We talked about all these epidemic diseases, and we mentioned obesity. This is designed to make you all feel terrible. Don't worry about that. This is showing you that the obesity rates are going up. But I wanted you to understand the price you pay for those extra 15, 20 pounds. And I'm not going to go over a lot of these right now because we'll go over this in the future. But I do want to tell you that when your insulin level goes up, that tells your body you're making fat. So if you want to lose weight, you got to lower the insulin level. Leptin is a hormone that says, I'm full. But if you eat a lot of sugar and carbs, you don't get that message, so you keep eating. Ghrelin is a hormone in your brain, and it comes from your stomach, that says, I am starving, and I need to keep eating and eating and eating. This is what makes you eat a ton of stuff the day after Thanksgiving. When you've doubled your caloric intake on Thanksgiving, you go to bed that night thinking, I don't need to eat for 2 days. I am stuffed. Friday morning, you wake up starving, and you wonder why. That's the reason why. That hormone has seen the rolls, the pumpkin pie, the apple pie, all the stuffing, all the stuff you ate, and says, oh, you want more of this? Okay, we're going to signal that again tomorrow, even when you shouldn't eat for 2 days. So we have to get control of that. We're going to talk about hormones in week 11. But estrogen levels, I do want to make sure that you menopausal women know that your weight gain at menopause probably has nothing to do with your lack of exercise and your poor diet. It has everything to do with the fact that you're not making estrogen anymore. And if we give you estrogen and build that up, you'll start losing that weight. But a lot of women just give up because they're like, I can't explain this weight. I'm not doing anything bad. I'm eating the same. I'm doing the same activities, but I got 10, 15, 20 pounds of belly fat right around my waist. And it's nothing is working, so forget it. Doesn't matter anymore. And then you gain another 20 pounds because now you're not even trying because you're feeling hopeless. That's the reason why. So we have to address estrogen, and we're going to talk about that. Some estrogens can cause cancer, but the estrogen I'm going to talk about will not cause cancer. Testosterone levels in men are a huge, huge problem. Probably 50 or more % of men have a testosterone problem. My testosterone, when I was 48, was not optimal, so I replaced it. And I'm stronger and more fit now at 61 than I was at 48. I can do a lot more now with testosterone. And my cholesterol's better, my risk of heart disease is down. All of my risk factors for chronic diseases are improved. Okay, and then nitric oxide production. I think I'm going to save that for another time, but let me just tell you, that's the reason when you don't make nitric oxide, that's the reason your blood pressure goes up. That's the reason you develop erectile dysfunction, either as a man or as a woman, when your clitoris doesn't feel like it did at 20. It's because you don't have nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is huge. Nitric oxide supplementation should be part of the therapy that we use in COVID patients. I spoke to an ICU doctor today about that. And you may have heard that a nurse on a ventilator for 4 weeks was given Viagra, which helps nitric oxide. And she was expected to die, and she woke up and recovered. So I said, why don't we try that? That does no harm. So nitric oxide is huge, huge, huge. And I'll share some cool videos with you of that in the future. Okay, so other causes, if you're going to lose weight, you have to lower your carb intake. And less than 50 grams a day is probably a pretty good goal for most people. But we'll talk about that as we go through this. There's a lot of detail on these slides, so I don't want to get too hung up in all of this. We're talking about low thyroid and sleep deprivation. We'll talk about all these. When somebody says your metabolism is low, they throw that term out like everybody knows what that means. I'll show you a picture in a couple weeks, and you'll know exactly why it's low and how to fix it, how to speed up your metabolism. Okay, and then we have, I think sometimes the biggest flaw we have is our thoughts and our emotions. We look in the mirror in the morning and we see somebody we don't like. In fact, often we don't like to see our naked body in front of the mirror, so we don't look at it. But when we do, we don't like it. There's a lot of judgment that goes on. And if you're going to heal those thoughts and emotions, you have to strip those away. I always tell people, when you look in the mirror, just take that layer off. Peel the layer of skin off, peel the fat over the skin, and what are you going to see? You're just going to see a muscular, trim athlete. That's what you all are. You just have to start seeing that and then chisel away a little bit at a time so everybody else starts to notice, because that's really what we all are. Okay, this is kind of an interesting slide. This is the brain reward center. So you see the normal brain up on the upper left, and a brain that has a lot of red is high in dopamine, and dopamine is a pleasure hormone. It makes you feel good. The brain on the right is a brain of an obese person. You see there's no red there? The predominant color is yellow. Yellow has medium dopamine levels. These people have difficulty feeling joy and pleasure because their dopamine is not high. And then you can see the brain of a cocaine user. You can see that they have much less brain volume. You see how it's just kind of jagged looking? Their brain mass is much less. And they have even less yellow, and they have more green, which means they have very low dopamine levels. So a couple points with this. If you try to use your normal brain up on the upper left to reason with a cocaine user or an alcoholic, you're talking two different languages. You're not going to be able to connect because they don't feel the same way you do. They don't understand and reason like you do. So that's really difficult. The second thing is their pleasure centers. Can you see why a cocaine user would continue to use? They just want to feel good like we do. And the only way they can do that is with their drug. Same with an alcoholic. But my question is, what about the obese person? Can you see now, looking at their brain with not much of the high levels of dopamine, why they would use food to make them feel better? Because they feel better when they eat, and they feel guilty afterwards, and they feel like, remorse and bad about themselves, but they're using food to help them feel better. So, and we all do that. I mean, I did that yesterday. I was at home, and there was way too many carbs around the house, and I was kind of feeling sorry for myself. And there's the bread, and there's the chocolate, and there's all this stuff that shouldn't have been in my house. And I'm on my laptop in my recliner, falling asleep in the middle of the afternoon. There's no reason for that. The carbs did that. And for a while, I had satisfaction. I was happy. But I was not happy in the afternoon. I was tired, and I couldn't function well. Okay, so the point here is we should be empathetic with others who struggle with eating when they shouldn't, and especially with ourselves. I mean, we all just want to feel good. Unfortunately, this is the wrong way to feel good, is using food. Okay, and we talked about genes, right? And some people say, well, I'm overweight because everybody in my family is overweight. We just have obese genes. So we have 25,000 genes, 99.5% the same as chimpanzees. A worm has 90,000 genes. That doesn't make sense, right? What does a worm do? A worm doesn't create music, doesn't build buildings, doesn't take care of sick people in the hospital or fly airplanes. A worm just kind of crawls around and watches out for birds, maybe. I don't even know if they do that. And then a wheat kernel, a plant, has 150,000 genes. That's like, this doesn't make sense. A plant has 6 times more genes than we have, the highest level functioning organism on the planet. Let's see, this is, okay. So how can we be so sophisticated with so few genes? Do you guys remember this slide? What's the answer here? I know it's on there, but I just want you to know. What's the reason why we can function so well with so few genes? It's because we adapt, right? A worm doesn't adapt to the environment like we do. So this is called epigenetics. So our environment dictates what genes get turned on and how our genes respond. If you eat, if one day you eat at McDonald's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you will change the genetic expression of the bacteria in your gut in one day. Those bacteria say, I'm not sure what this is, but we have to respond to this crappy food. We're going to change what the genes that we make. But the opposite is also true. When you start eating healthy, your genes, those bacteria change what they express, and so do your own cells. The problem is you're impatient because you've had 2 or 3 good days of eating, and you're not seeing, the scales aren't rewarding you. And so you're not realizing that your body is healing and changing. Okay, so we are what we eat. But we have to digest it and absorb it, because some things go right through us. And then we are also what we breathe. If you breathe tobacco, that's going to get incorporated into your tissue. You are what you absorb on your skin. Whatever you put on your skin, consider just putting it in your mouth and swallowing it, because a lot of that will get absorbed right into your system. But we're also what we eliminate. How well do we eliminate the bad things? How often do we sweat? Sweat's a great way to eliminate toxins. Having healthy bowel movements and a healthy bladder. But we're also the sum total of our thoughts, emotions, and the people in our lives. So we're really a sum total of all the energies around us. So if you lived in this environment, what would your attitude be? What would your thoughts be? Your health be like? How would you feel physically and emotionally? So we have this crash course that I think we're on as a country and as just humans on the planet. So it's our response to this, because I showed you in these slides that obesity is going up, diabetes is going up, COVID deaths are going up, suicides, all these things, just everything sounds bad. And how do we respond in allopathic medicine? Oh, let's get you a pill for this. pharmaceutical companies said, we'll help you with that Omicron variant. We're gonna have an infusion we can give you. Don't worry about that other one, because that Delta virus is gonna burn out. We got this Omicron infusion we're gonna start using because you guys need it. But do we really need it, or do they want it? Because they're making a ton of money on those kind of approaches. Okay, so our response in allopathic medicine. So MDs and DOs, the way we practice is we try to combat disease by using remedies like drugs and surgery. That's really what the second year of medical school is all about. The first year is healthy bodies, second year is diseased bodies, and how do we treat it? That's the approach. If you're a naturopath, you don't use medications or surgeries, you do alternative treatments. Okay, so the question is, how do we support our body's abilities to heal? So we have all these external solutions. And what do you think of these? Are they effective? Because many of you are probably here because you want to be healthier, right? And you've tried some of these, and they haven't worked. So you're like, okay, let me try this program out. Okay, and then this is kind of amazing to me. This price of pharmaceuticals, it takes $1 billion to get a drug to market. $1 billion. That's almost unbelievable. I have a good friend who worked for Pfizer for his whole career, and he confirmed this with me. So we have all these clinical trials. We start with animals, and then we go to phase 1 where we get healthy volunteers like college students. They'll do anything for $500, right? And I did that when I was in graduate school. And then we get 100 to 300 people who have the disease we're trying to treat, and they sign a waiver. They won't sue us if something bad happens with this treatment. And then when that passes, we go to phase 3, where we get a lot of people enrolled. What do you know about these drug trials? Anybody ever taken a drug that was taken off the market? I mean, I could name at least a half a dozen that I know that were approved by the FDA because they passed these trials, and then a couple years later they were causing some kind of cancer or heart attacks or death, so they were removed from the market. So just because the FDA approves it doesn't always mean it's going to be safe. It usually takes 90 months from this new drug, this new molecule, to get to the place where they can start to market it. All right, so if there's a patent on it that lasts for 20 years, the clock is ticking, and by the time it passes the animal trials and human trials and gets approved, there's an 8 to 10 year window to make a return on the investment, which is $1 billion. So they're going to market very heavily, and they're going to try to convince you, and they're going to try to convince the medical community that you need this medicine. Okay, so those costs get passed on to the consumer. So you're diabetic, and you get 2 or 3 diabetic medicines you can take that are cheap, and everything else is $200 or $300 a month. And you got to take 4 of them. So now you're spending $600 a month on your diabetes. I'd rather you learn how to reverse your diabetes than to spend a bunch of money on medicines that can cause problems or that might eventually be taken off the market. Okay, so these are the symptoms of the most commonly prescribed ailment. You guys watched this, right? You saw this, so you know what it is, right? Depression. Okay, good. So my question is, when you have depression, is it because somebody turned off the light or you turned away from the light? And what I mean by that is most of the depression that I see and treat is the second, not the first. When the light goes out, that is just boom, that's depression that hits you, and you are in bed, you are depressed, you can't function, just blindsides you. And you are begging, please help me to feel normal again, because you feel totally hopeless. That's when medications are effective, and that happens. But a lot of us, we step away from the light and we move towards dark places, and then we feel terrible. And we want a drug to help us feel better. And those antidepressants can help the lows not be so low, but they also take the highs and they drop those down. So now we're feeling less emotion on both ends. We're not suffering as much, but we're not as happy often. So when I'm talking about turning away from the light, this is when we're comparing ourselves to other people. If you're going to see a psychologist for depression, they might tell you to stay off of social media because that's where we do it. or you're focusing on the negative, all you see is the negative, or you're critical of yourself, and you feel powerless, and your focus is just all on you and your problems, and that's all you can talk about, think about, self-consumed with all this. That's when I think all of us move into these dark places. It's happened to me, and I found a way to get out of that. And the way to get out of that is to move back into the light, to remember that nobody's better than me, nobody's worse than me. We're all equal. We all have our issues that we're struggling with, and we're doing our best. But we have to stay focused on positive. We have to accept ourselves and remain hopeful. And the key to most depression, I firmly believe, goes back to my Bible beliefs, is that when we turn outside of ourselves, we try to help somebody else, serve somebody, lift somebody, make somebody else's day better. It gives us energy, it gives us hope, and it brings joy to that person and happiness to ourselves. That's how I think most of the time we should step back into the light. Okay, so we talked about the prescription practices. We give more antidepressants than any other therapeutic drug. Can you see why? I mean, we're overwhelmed right now. And with COVID and the hopelessness and the misinformation, we're really struggling with it. Okay, so we prescribe a lot of drugs. The average doctor will give you 2 prescriptions every time you come to the office. Okay, so why do these programs fail? I need an answer from somebody, because they're out there, and some of you have tried some of these. Why do they not work?
Mental health.
Mental health, excellent.
They don't require a lot of discipline. You're not really fixing anything.
Right. It's the superficial stuff, right? It's not, the hard work is inside. How are my emotions affecting this? My relationships, my thoughts? That's the hard work. So they give you short-term results, but you're not going to be happy with a superficial approach. You're not going to heal. Science is also interesting, because I spent 8 years doing this. So we get an idea, we test it, and we analyze it with statistics. My question is, can the question or the money involved influence the observation? You think it can? Who tested the new monoclonal antibody infusion for the Omicron virus? Who did that study? It's a pharmaceutical company. How can that be an unbiased conclusion? Every drug that's out there, we'll talk about the statins, it was pharmaceutical companies. So definitely the way you ask the question and the financial incentive is going to really have an impact on what you see, what you observe. Statistical and clinical significance, 2 different things. I don't care if it's statistically significant. That just means the difference you see is not a random error. There's something causing a difference. But is it clinically meaningful? You can't say that when there's a statistical difference, but that's how they're going to push their drug. So it's clearly how we advanced our medical knowledge. I'm not knocking that. But there are catastrophes. There are drugs that are approved that get yanked from the market. And then there's these gray areas. So if I ask you, does milk make your bones stronger? Most of you'd say yes. And the reason you say yes is because your mom told you it would. That's called conformational bias. If you look at the research says 30 studies say yes. 24 studies say, no, we don't see a difference. And 3 studies say it actually hurts your bone density. So which one of these do you believe? If you're a scientist, you'll probably go with the first one. If you're a non-scientist, you're gonna stick with what your mom told you. And that's how most of us approach this. Okay, so we are not educated as physicians to understand nutrition, but nutrition is what makes up our body. It's what helps us heal and can make us sick. So fortunately, I had all of that. I had several years, an undergrad degree in nutrition, a PhD coursework in nutrition, and then my clinical background. Okay, so it is time now for us to get to know you guys a little bit better. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have Steph start, and then Deb, and then if we're just going to go around, we don't take a long time, just 1 or 2 sentences. What brought you here? What do you hope to gain? Something about yourself. If you're not comfortable with that, just say pass, because I don't want anybody to feel put on the spot. I hate that. I would probably be a pass, because I don't like, when I don't know people, I don't usually talk. So, but Seth and Debbie have been in our program for several years and great supporters. They got a great story. We don't have time for the whole story, but just want to give them an opportunity to say something about the class themselves. And then we'll just go through here real quick.
I'm Seth Angel, this is my wife Debbie. I actually went through the class virtually onto the online version of the class. And kind of at the persuasion of Debbie, taking the class initially, I didn't realize what I was really in for. And these first three sessions are really important because they kind of lay a foundation for everything. I was doing things unconsciously that were hindering my health. I haven't lost as much weight as I'd like, but I brought my blood pressure down and I feel better. I'm more active, and give it a chance. It's a program that really can benefit everybody, no matter where your starting point is. And like Dr. McKnight said, you shouldn't be comparing yourself to everybody else. It's a personal challenge. And what can you do to make yourself better? I guess that's my big takeaway.
My name is Debbie, and he says he hasn't lost the weight that he wanted, but I can tell you he's poking holes in his belt because he doesn't want to buy a new one. So what I want you to understand about this
Are you saying I'm cheap?
Yeah. You can tell we're married, all right, for a long time. What I want you to understand about this program is, first of all, I'm a nurse. I'm not an employee of Trinity. I actually work for Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital. I volunteer for this because this program changed my life. I'm going to put it right out there. I was 230 pounds. Not a number I'm proud of, but I'm 177 now. So what's so important is these first three classes are so important because you have to take a look at yourself, answer those questions, see why the other things didn't work. Got to look at yourself and see what was sabotaging you. I just hang in there with those first three classes. We'll get to the nitty gritty or the meat and potatoes, like people say, but this was life changing for me, and I feel so much better. So.
And Deb, your big healing was emotion, right?
It was emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why these first programs, I needed to go to a counselor. And I'm a nurse, so I shouldn't myself. I don't need somebody to talk to. I really did need somebody to talk to. I had some really difficult things that I couldn't fix, and I had to realize I needed to set boundaries with some people. I have a much more self-confidence. I've been talking a couple times, and each time it's a little easier. Public speaking isn't my thing. Now, he doesn't bother him, but it is for me. So yeah, the emotional thing was really something I had to fix. But that you gotta look at that first before you move on to the other stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we've got like 10 minutes. So this is introduce yourself and say maybe why you're here or what got you here, just real brief. And if you want to pass, just say pass. So we'll go right next to Deb there. We'll start in the back.
I'm Kathy. I've been in the class before, and it's amazing what you can learn. It is so beneficial, and that's why I'm still here. I'm still learning. Even though I've had the class before, you still pick up on new information, and I'm here to get healthier and try to reverse my diabetes. My focus is to get off of my insulin, and thank you for everything you do for us, Dr. McKnight.
Well, I'm Alicia Thompson, and this is my second time here. I took it in the fall. I missed a couple of classes because of family members with COVID, but I was blown away with the information I got in the fall. And I was like, finally, thank you so much, because it's like I've searched and I've searched and I've searched, and you just have brought a full spectrum for me. And so I'm here my second time because there's so much knowledge to learn and just take it in, and it's just an amazing class. So just digest it and just take it one step at a time. Don't get overwhelmed because there's plenty of awesome support. And so it'll be great. It'll be a great experience.
Cheryl, would you like to share?
I did the
program about 7 years ago, and I need to do it again.
Good.
Because it was awesome the first time, but I have slipped back, and I'm sort of like Debbie, I feel like there's an emotional block right now that I need to deal with.
Anne?
Ian Reg, I was here in the fall. I kind of decided I was going to do something for myself. Invited my family members, and they did all come. And I decided that I wanted to do it again and kind of work on some additional things that I feel like I've done well with some of it. That I want to.
Okay, if you guys could stand up and maybe pull your mask down to talk if you want to, because we can't really hear you. Sorry. And you can and you can pass if you want.
I'm not shy. Maybe. I'm Patty Ford, and Ann invited me to this program with her this year. And I just need a new me. I need to jumpstart me all over again. I know what you're supposed to do. I know what needs to be done, but I'm my own worst enemy. So I need to jumpstart me.
Good job.
I'm Steve Rondinella. I need guidance into feeling better. I don't feel bad, but I want to feel better.
I'm Beth Rondinella. We came together. I just want to feel better. I want to be healthier. Got a lot going on with kids and stuff, and I just want to be there for it all.
I'm Zoanne Folt, and I'm a nurse, so I'm a caregiver every day, and I just want to join the program to do a better job at self-care.
My name is Ann, and I came because I do better with the group and with the challenge. Needs to lose weight.
My name's Mabel, and I just want to feel better. I have a brand new grandbaby, and I want to be able to keep up with her.
My name is Pam. I just like to lose weight and be healthier.
My name is Teresa Moore. I recently retired and I just want to get healthier and make sure I'm around my grandkids.
Okay.
My name is Kara Christensen, and I heard about this from Sarah, and also I just want to learn more about what it means to have optimal health. Live optimally. I'm Sarah Wolf, and I took the course in the fall, and I really liked it. And I, like some other folks have said, there's so much information, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. And you can really take what we learn and apply it to yourself. But the most important takeaway was that I have to take care of me. And if I'm not taking care of myself, and if I'm not in order, then I can't take care of the people that I need.
My name's Amy Beal. I'm a nurse. I work for Cleveland Clinic Mercy. Nurses make the worst patients, so we don't take care of ourselves. I'm here to take care of myself a little better. I had gastric bypass surgery 11 years ago, lost 150 pounds, gained about 75 back. And I want to learn how to lose that again and work on my mental health, because that's the thing that I did not learn the first time, was my mental health.
Hi, I'm Erica. I am here to quit faking it, I guess. When I get emotional, I'm sorry. I grew up being told that being fat, you weren't worthy. So I am stubborn and said, no, I'm not. I will be fat and I will be successful, and I have been, but I now see the bad things that happen to my daughters that are going through it. So I'm gonna stop the cycle.
It's okay. That's all right.
My name is Tara Lingler. I also heard about it from Sarah. I was very successful on Weight Watchers and lost a significant amount, stopped counting points and gained it all back, because that's all we learned was how to count points, not why, not any of this. So this is what I just learned.
Good job.
My name is Trudy Leonhardt. I think I'm a lifer. It all started when I
wife? And, you know, where is she done? What have you done with her? That kind of thing. So I got introduced to Dr. McKnight and the program down in Denison. So, but as we get older, and information changes. I most recently took it in the fall, and I just decided that was just a good start. To keep it going.
I am Sherry Smart, and I want to reverse my diabetes and get rid of my blood pressure pills. God bless you, Jen and Seth.
I'm Kevin, her fiance. I'm in the same boat with her. Help her out.
Bear, go ahead.
I'm Bear Schwartz. I'm here because my wife made me come.
I love it.
Actually, I would like to know what I need to take care of. I thank her for that, but I make fun of her.
I'm the mean wife, I'm Karen Schwartz. And yes, I've tried getting him in this class before, and it's always been filled up. So my friend Tracy brought it to my attention that there was another class going on, so I'm here to help support him.
Tracy Gary, second time taking the class. It's been a rough 3 years, I think, for everybody. We all just need to start over. Dr. McKnight is a great doctor.
I'm Gail Hewitt. I'm a retired nurse, and my sister Brenda had taken the class, and she told me about it. So I see familiar faces. I just found my weight and my lipid panel got a little wacky, and my blood pressure is creeping up. And I found myself not having the motivation that I used to have, so I thought the class would help me.
My name is Shawnette Freshwater, and I've just decided it's my time to take care of me.
My name is Reading Stein, and I'm a retired nurse. Just trying to do this for me and get that healthier.
My name is Michelle Harding. I'm here to get my life back and put myself first.
My name is Cassie Chamberlain, and I'm friends with Deb Angel. We used to work together for a long time, and she left, and I kept in touch with her, but I noticed as a couple of years went on, she was like feeling and looking and doing better and better and better. And I keep telling her the last couple of years, oh, I feel the worst I've ever felt. I have stress, I have metabolic syndrome, I have menopause, I have everything. And she said, well, why don't you come to this class? And I finally did. First time.
My name is Connie. I definitely have stepped out of the light. I've taken this course before, then the pandemic happened. You know, a couple years of working at home, not getting out, not being with people, and I'm here to change things.
I'm Jenny Dallas. I'm here with my mom, taking the class for the first time, just trying to get a little kickstart on my health and wellness journey and make sure I don't, start on the path to heart disease or diabetes or other things that run in the family. So.
I'm Julie. I'm a retired nurse. I lost 80 pounds on weight watchers, but same thing when I quit. When my boys, I didn't know that. And I need to know why and how it's working. And I really you're helping me understand.
Hello. I'm Betty. I'm 78 years old. I did this class before as a widow. 2 years ago, I married this man. So yes, that's why he's here. I quit working when I married him. We had COVID. Everything slowed down, and I put weight back on. And my husband's had 2 reverse shoulder surgeries in the time we've been married. So he needs strength, and I need to lighten up.
We'll fix that. My name is Andy, and my goal is to get back on the basketball court despite 2 surgeries and beat you one-on-one.
I'm not that hard to beat.
I'm Bonnie, and I'm just here. My new word for the year is reset. So this is part of my resetting of my life. It's a goal I have to do better with my health, and the mental thing is a big thing for me. So work on that. I'm Julie, and last year took a toll on me mentally and physically. So when I started this year off, I said 2022 is going to be a great year, and I'm ready to.
Okay, we need to go down this way.
I'm Rhonda, and I want to lose weight and get healthier.
And I'm Ashley. I'm Rhonda's daughter, and I'm here to hopefully we can be a positive influence on each other.
Hi, I'm Judy, and I'm a cancer survivor. So as I get older, I just think about, I want more years, you know. I went through chemo and stuff, and I think back and think, oh, what did that do to me, you know? And now I wanted to go natural. I don't want to have any medicine, and that's what I'm trying to do.
I'm Dina Gerselli, from the veterinary technicians, and my hats off to all you nurses and retired nurses that work with human patients. 'Cause I think about 6 years ago, I switched from clinic job to work from my desk job, and managed to put on 30 pounds since then. A year ago, got put on blood pressure medication, really made me angry, and just wanted to change before I get
Hi, I'm Valerie Leggett. I just want to be healthier and feel better.
Hi, I'm Nicole Madonna, and I use blood pressure medication, so I'm looking to get off that and be healthier.
It's everybody, right?
Thank you very much. I wanted to tell you, I played basketball Saturday with a guy. I thought, I'm not gonna have to guard him. He looked pretty old. He was 71. I had to guard him. He was making a lot of shots. So we're gonna help you with that shoulder. Okay, you probably could. You probably could. You know, I just want to say that I am really moved by your stories and the reasons you're here. And just hearing that makes me want to work that much harder to make sure everybody gets out of this what they came for. And we all four of us feel that way. We want to make you successful. And as we go through the lectures, if we've covered a topic that you feel like is for you, but you didn't get the answers you need, please let us know or share it on Facebook. We'll connect that way as well. But I don't want anybody to leave here not feeling like they got the help they came here for, because all of you deserve that. And all of you should have that help. We're going to get that shoulder better. I already got a couple ideas for you. So, what's that?
Doing therapy, yeah.
After 3 months of therapy, you have stress fracture.
Stress fracture. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Chromium.
I'm okay. It's okay if you beat me as long as you're better. Okay, so the last slide is the assignments this week. It's kind of like the first day of school. We don't really overwhelm you. I want you to do something physically 3 days a week. It doesn't have to be walking, but something 3 days a week, and you decide how long. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. Just a physical activity that challenges you so you can check the box and you said, I did it. Not anything overwhelming. And then I want you to read the first chapter in the workbook and go through and answer those questions. For those of you who are ready to start right now on how to eat differently, what you have to do to lose weight, you should have got the little journal, the companion journal. And if you go to the back there, there's a section on a couple sections on diet, on a foods list. It's a really restricted list, and you might look at that and say, that's not what I want to eat. Well, I'm not saying you have to eat that way, but if you're serious about it, until we can explain it, that's a safe list of foods. So we're going to talk about all of that. We're going to walk you through. Nothing. We don't want anybody overwhelmed. It's a step-by-step process. So the idea is each week to check off a couple more boxes of some victory that you've had. And then next week, we're going to talk about mindfulness, the power of the mind. And we know from, what people have told us in the past, they want to jump in to teach me what to eat. How do I lose weight? How do I fix my shoulder? That's going to come. But if we skip over weeks 2 and week 3, like Deb said, it's going to be a superficial change. Next week is about helping you become aware of your thought patterns and processes that got you where you are with your health. Then week 3 is about how you change your mind. When I say change your mind, I'm talking about the connections in your brain, the nerve connections, so that patterns develop and they become automatic. So we have to address that before we really jump into the meat of how we're going to change and improve our health. Okay, so that's the lecture for tonight. Do you have anything, Kelly?
Yes. I don't fall down the steps here. Well, this is odd being in front of there. My name's Kelly Bowe, and I've been working with Dr. McKnight with this program for. We can't see you. You can't see me. But we've been working together for a lot of years on this program, and I'm here tonight because of the high that I get every time I see people transform in front of my eyes. Like, by the time we get to the 12th class, we're both in tears because of the way we feel about you guys and how you succeed. So that's why I'm here today. And for the next chapter, we're going to ask you to get some fresh fruit and cut that up into little pieces and put saran wrap on it. And at the third lecture, he'll tell you what to do with that. So when next time you get to groceries, get a couple different fruits that you like, chop it up into little pieces, and have it ready for the little exercise we're going to do with you.
Bring it with us?
Pardon?
We bring it with us?
No, you'll be doing that at home. So, and every week you're going to get a copy of the handout of the lecture that we're doing, plus you're going to get a critique sheet. That critique sheet helps Dr. McKnight know how to improve the program, what people like, what people don't like. So please fill that out before you leave tonight and give that to me. So I think that's it. It is very much, no names, just very anonymous, how you really feel, so we can continue to try to improve things. Stay safe out there.
Okay, we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.